So, hello guys and welcome for today's GTT. So, my name is Emmanuel. So, I'll be the moderator of the day. So, I'll be introducing just overview what is GTT. Then after this, I'm going to leave it for Abel Masila, and today's session is about servers and rendered apps and single page applications and just everything around them. So, Geeks Talk Thursday is a community for developers to learn, engage, and share knowledge. And the slogan is let the commit speak. That's the website there. Geeks Talk Thursday is brought to you by Apps Lab KE. So what we always do about Geeks Talk Thursday about introduction to development, code labs, charts, and it's been long. I think the next sessions we're having about charts about different technologies, talk about productivity, teamwork, and collaboration tools. We also do product review and product launching in case you're working on a product and you really want to test it and guys to hear your feedback, to hear guys feedback, so see what you can improve. That one you can also set up a session for that for you. And we also contribute about open source. Yeah, the open source projects Julius do the yeah. So other interesting activities to check out is I think you'll know about Fun Friday by Podi. So bi-weekly, so next Friday. And there's also YouTube channels. Z kama Abel uko na yako tukwadu kwa list hapa, but these are some of the some of the upcoming YouTube tech YouTube channels. Geeks Talk Thursday, where we upload every videos a week after the session is done. And there's also Frank Tamre, who is a community member who we've realized in the recent past is doing some content on Android and related stuff. And then if you're an Android developer, there's Android 254 pen bar every Friday. So tomorrow 7:30 p.m. is always on Telegram. So to catch up on that, just go to Telegram and search for Android 254. And the Android 254 Kotlin Kenya and Flutter events are also back virtually. And also you can also check out for DodeCon KE. Yeah, which there's a DodeCon EMEA, which will be a virtual event coming up. Yeah, in October, so you can check it out. The link is there. So on YouTube, Geeks of Thursday has already I've said, and there's the past projects you've done and even the future planning. Just go to organization Geeks Talk on GitHub and you'll find the project. So today, I'm excited to have Abel Masila, who is a senior software engineer at Andela front end, and this is the second time. The second time he's doing a session on front end in Geeks Talk Thursday. And I already said my name, Magak Emmanuel. So yeah, so that's it. Server-side rendered apps was a single page application. So just stay around and stick and be sure you learn. So I'll stop sharing my screen and Abel, you can take it from there.
All right. So let me share my entire screen. I hope you can all see this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So a little introduction. So my name is Abel Masila. I work at Andela, and through Andela, I work for a company in the US called X2AI, where I'm a front-end engineer. Primarily, I've been working with React for the last 4 years, but I'm not limited to React alone. I've been checking out other libraries and frameworks around, and I feel like we have been having lots of misconceptions and a little understanding of what is the technologies behind most of the frameworks we use. And that is why we have this talk today to do with server-side rendered apps and single-page applications. I have expertise in React and Vue.js. I have little expertise in Angular, but I really know what Angular does. So I'll touch on a couple of these libraries and frameworks as we go on. So without much ado, let's get started. So we need to understand what server-side rendered applications are and what single-page applications are. And for starters, let's say that server-side rendered applications, they are applications which are initially rendered on the server. And then, as you know, a long time ago when we were doing web development, when I was in university, long time ago, we used to do PHP. And as we were told, PHP is a server-side rendered language, and we used to create each file for every page. So if it's a index page, it's an index.php. If it's a home page, it's home.php, and so forth. And then that page would be rendered on the server, and then you can see it on the browser. So that is how initially we started doing web applications, and then there came JavaScript and JavaScript libraries, and then the new hot deal came up, and that is single page applications. And these are basically applications which are run on the browser, and they don't need to reload. So essentially, what single page applications are, they just load your HTML, your CSS, and your HTML code. And once that has happened, instead of you just load them to the browser, and instead of relying on the server to change on the pages and the different routes, what happens is JavaScript takes over and it starts responding to your browser events. So if you navigate from login to user's page, the browser is doing that work for you, not the server. And as you can see already, we are already having a couple of items which may be happening in your user's page. You may be loading an API response, so you need to wait for the API, which is the server side part of the application, to bring on the results. So single page applications, they are really nice for specific scenarios, which we'll discuss in a later slide. So what are the advantages of server-side rendered applications? As you can see, server-side rendered applications are very good for SEO. What is SEO? SEO is search engine optimization. This is how your web applications get indexed on Google. For instance, if I search Facebook here, Facebook, how we get all these metadata here, the login page and all this stuff. This is basically making your application accessible, easily accessible by using keywords and meta info for your web applications. So that is what SEO is basically. And server-side rendered applications are very nice for this, because most of the search engines, they really don't know how to index JavaScript applications, but they can easily index server-side rendered application because the markup is already in place, and the markup is different for the different pages. And that is one disadvantage of a single page application, whereby we'll discuss more of what how single applications are built, but the single page application is basically just one HTML file and then JavaScript. So imagine for the case where you have just one HTML file, index.html, you'll basically get the meta information just for the index of HTML, which is not the case for server-side rendered applications. So, and it's good for sharing. When you share a server-side rendered application in your social media, you get the meta information there, the thumbnail, the placeholder images, and the meta info, the description, the titles, and all that. The only cons to server-side rendered applications is that just getting started with the server-side rendered application is very simple. But as you continue to build on your product, the complexity really increases and grows, and then you need to just learn more than you knew when you got started. And then rendering a very big application on the server can consume quite a lot of resources. You need lots of storage, fast internet, and so forth. So despite the fact that we can be able to index most of the server-side rendered application, for the SPAs we cannot, because it's only Google, the search engine, which can index JavaScript applications. And I can show you an example of a indexed client-side rendered app, the single page application. For instance, I worked at on MOOC.com a long time ago, and as you can see, MOOC.com is a single page application. We only have index.html for this website, but JavaScript is taking control of the routing and so forth. But it has been indexed by Google. In a different scenario, I don't know if, but in a different scenario, I don't think Open Graph really indexes these applications very well. And I will show you what I mean in a demo. So when you go to the single page applications, the advantages, single page applications are very nice and they are very fast because you just load up your JavaScript, your static files, and that's all. JavaScript will continue to take care of your routing and loading of data and so forth. Then client-side application don't consume so much on your server because your source of data, which could be an API, is just primarily doing that on the server, just giving you data from the API. So you have just relieved your server lots of loads rendering your web app, and then it is so easy to transform single page applications into PWS. What are PWS? PWS are progressive web apps. And the only good thing, there's a lot of information about what progressive web apps are and how to get started on that. That's a different discussion far from this. But what PWS enable you to do is you can easily support offline use of your application and even cache your data on people's devices, so people can continue using your application when they're offline. And it's so easy because you can know when they're offline and you can tell them to go online. And that is the power of SPAs. And most of the applications right now have been converted to PWS. So you should also convert your SPA to a PWA. And then the other good thing is when you are dealing with SPAs, you don't talk about SEO, because that is not something which you can achieve very fast with an SPA application. And I will show you a demo of the difference between a server-side rendered app and a SPA in terms of SPA. The cons to this is that they rely so much on JavaScript. And as you know, people are cunning. People don't love enabling JavaScript in their browsers if they don't want to get hacked or something. So if your users by any bad luck disable JavaScript on their browsers, basically they cannot access your web app because it's primarily built on JavaScript, and that is all. And it's not on the browser. So you need to work on accessibility in case people disable JavaScript. And then they are not so good for SEO intensive applications. For instance, your blog needs to be indexed on any search engine. So it's good not to use an SPA for that case. If you think that your web application should be highly accessible, don't go for an SPA. And we have numerous examples of SPAs which have been doing good. For instance, a dashboard application. A dashboard application is a very nice use case for an SPA because it works behind a login screen. So people can access what they need just behind the login screen. Unlike an e-commerce application where people need listings of products, people need to know what product they are going to buy. So a very good indexing of the products or the categories is nice. You need SEO. But for a dashboard, you don't really need SEO for a dashboard because it only works past a login screen. So you only need to index your login screen, which is not really helpful. So let's see what the SPA flow looks like. So you go to your browser. Let's go to mook.com. You go to mook.com and then you request for a page. Let's say you request for this page. What happens is that, what happens in that scenario is that your request is sent to the server. For instance, let's say you are using a node server or something. That is the first thing which happens. Your request is sent. But then what is returned is just one page, just a one-page index.html, just that. And when that happens, your site starts to load. But then it's loading. You realize that we need JavaScript to show a carousel, we need JavaScript to show a link. So what happens is that as the HTML page is being returned, your browser will request again for the JavaScript files. This JavaScript file enable you to show links to carousels to basically make your application lively. So as your application is doing all the rendering and stuff, your JavaScript files are being requested and they are being returned. So once they are being returned, what happens is something called hydration. Hydration is an advanced concept in web development, especially if you're not into plugin development and so forth. But what hydration means is that once the HTML file has been returned by the server and the JavaScript files have been fetched, Vue or React or Angular will take over the HTML generated by the server and make it to a reactive DOM application, a virtual DOM for React users and Vue.js users. So redirection is just a process of now JavaScript taking over your index.html page. The index.html page has got a link to your JavaScript files from the server. So once React takes over, it knows that we have a router. So we need to go to mock.com/event1. And that is what happens for the SPA flow. You are highly relying on history API because, for instance, if I go back to Mook and hit the back button, it is an SPA. So before we had history API, we had the problem called the back button problem, where you could hit back on your SPA and it doesn't load. But with the introduction of HTML5, there came something called the history API. If you have been working on React, you have interacted with history API because you need to provide an history object for your router. So that is what the history API just enables you to interact with the address bar and the navigation history. And that's why you can be able to hit next and also hit back without server interaction, just on the client. The good thing with the server is that the server will always give you a page, but the client needs a way to know where to go next and where to go back if you hit back. And that's where history API comes in. If you want to see what is history API is available through window.history, or just because window.history is a global object. If I do window on my console, there are so many things. So if I do window.history, I'll see so many things about the history API. So we have link. There are so many things. So as you know, JavaScript is a prototype or language. So you chain on stuff. JavaScript is not a class-based language. So you need to also check out what prototype or language means later after the demo. But you can see these are the available items you can use for the history API. You can go back, you can go forward, you can push state, you can replace it, and so forth. This is the history API. If you're using React Router, they have implemented the history API for you. You just need to provide one, just an instance for your application. If you're using Vue Router, you just need to provide your mod for the history. If it's hash, I forgot the other mod for Vue. But most of the routers do take care of history. So let's go to the server-side rendered flow for Next. So Vue.js offers server-side rendered application using Next.js. That is one of the most pronounced libraries out there to do this. Frameworks out there to do this, but I think there are others. So this is what happens when you request for a page in a server-side rendered flow for Next.js. So you go to mook.com/create. Your browser will request the server for your URL. And then what happens with the server is that they will render your component for that request into an HTML file and return the HTML file first. So we'll have create.html and it will be sent direct to the user. So it will start loading. So showing a loader, showing a couple of skeletons here and there. But then as that is happening, JavaScript files are being requested from the server too. And when they are returned, your page is iterated. And as I told you, iteration is basically your Vue or your React taking over the HTML file generated by the server and making it feel like an SPA. You can do now the lifecycle hooks. You can do anything which an SPA can do as long as your JavaScript has come. And as you know, Vue instance is also a JavaScript thing, so it needs to come back and then create the instance, and then you can continue doing view stuff. That is what the flow looks like. But then what happens if I hit, let's say, a link twice? So if I go to mooc.com/event1, and then I go back to another event, and then I go back to event 1. If I'm using Nux router, Nux link enables you to preserve the JavaScript files fetched for a specific page. So if you go to the same link twice, the second time you go to the same page, they won't fetch the JavaScript files because they have already been fetched in a different case, and they have been cached. So that's the good thing about using components provided by your library or your framework. With Next.js, you have the Next link. With Next.js, you have the Next.js link, which I will show you. And the good thing about Next.js links is that they have smart prefetching, which I'll show you in a demo. So for Next.js, it's very simple. You just request, then your HTML is sent back, and then iteration occurs, and then your page feels like an SPA. But then that's all we have for the discussion about how things happen. Then we have the different ways of pre-rendering your web apps in the server side. So we have two methods of pre-rendering. We have static generation and we have server-side rendering. And the difference is really simple, is when we generate the HTML for a page. For static generation, this is what happens. When you build your application, all the HTML for your pages is generated, and it will be reused for every request to a specific page. That is a catch. And this is the best approach to do pre-rendering. It's the best and it's the most encouraged way, because you don't want to keep on requesting the server for things which you can already load initially before the user opens a page. Then the other one is server-side rendering for prefetching, and this is really nice for rapidly changing websites where the contents of the page are constantly changing. For instance, a dashboard tally. The data of that tally is constantly changing. And what this means, the content of that page is constantly changing. And server-side pre-render is basically generating HTML on request. So if you go to /user, you generate the HTML at that instance. When you generate /profile, that's when you generate the HTML. But for static, all those things have been generated for you, so you just need to make the request. And this is what happens for static. You build your application, you have all the HTML files for your page, and then you can reuse them. For static, you want to go to a page, you request for the server, the HTML is generated, and then you can see the page. And that's server-side pre-rendering. Then so we can do a demo. And see what this is. I'll do a demo. I'll start with a demo in Next.js, because Next.js is nice. It's good for Vue developers. So the code for this talk for the next talk is here. So let me share this. That's the link. You can check it. You can check out the code. So when it comes to Next.js, we have something called the universal mode, and something which is very common, not just for Next. It is even available with Angular, and it's called the universal mode. And what the universal mode really means is that your application is initially rendered in the server before it comes to the browser. And with this, what Next.js helps you, what Next.js empowers you to do is to create a fully server-side rendered application. But if you feel like you want to create an SPA too, they also have provision for that. But Next.js is really nice for people who want to do server-side rendering. So these are Next.js applications. Let me open the Next.js application from my editor. Is Next. So as you can see, simple application. I just have the folders for pages, just a page for events and the index page. And then I have components. All this stuff is given to you by Next.js. So you just need to configure the different items you want. But if I go to the next config, we can see something called the mode, and the mode is universal. And as I told you, if the mode is universal, that means your application is server-side rendered and the HTML will be generated on the server and then given back to the client. And then Vue.js will be hydrated to the page and the page will feel like an SPA. But then we have another mode. The mode is SPA. So I think it's SPA. That means your application is fully rendered on the client, no server stuff. But when you run this application in universal mode, this folder .next is generated. And this is where the magic happens. Because inside this folder, you can see all your Vue.js code, the store, the routes in a JSON file, the router, and so forth. But when you go to the dist directory, we have the client and we have the server. So what happens is when you request for a page here, the pages have been already listed in your server page, in your server directory, and this server, which is basically a node server, will generate HTML page for all the pages in the server. So when you continue working on stuff here, for instance, if I run the project yarn start, and then add a new page, let's say a page called users.view. What happens is that this page should be added here to my distribution in the client. But then because the application has not been rendered, let me open this link. So that's the application. So let me add something here. Let me do a template. I do h1. Okay. Every file you add is basically a route. So I can basically go to the user route. So I just go to /user. Basically what we used to do with PHP. It's not found. Okay. Let me restart the application. I need to start this in development mode. So I need to do next. I just need to yarn dev. And then it will start in development mode and the page will be generated right here. So let me expand this so you can see. So it has generated the pages. So if I open back my views, where is my list? The list is still being generated. So let's wait for some time. But then what happens is that the new pages will be generated on the server and then they can be rendered later on. So let me expand this. Wow, why is this not showing me what I need? So if I go to that route /user, it should just show hey, but then I don't see my page here. I don't see my dist, but then I don't know why. I think I need to refresh my code, my code editor. Yeah. But then we can go to the routes. We can basically see the routes. It's easy to see the routes. This route which I've added. So it's been generated on the fly as well, the different pages. I wanted to show something pretty cool with Next.js, which is called smart fetching for URLs. So let me put my console my DevTools in the bottom of the page. I'll scroll to the bottom and refresh this page. So so as you can see here, we basically have this component, the nav bar, with a link and a link, and then a couple of cards. So what happens with smart fetching is this. So let me toggle my network tab, clear it, and switch to all. I want to scroll to the bottom of the page. So initially when we go to the create route, we are loading a create component. What smart fetching does for us is this. So if I refresh this page and I'm at the bottom of the page, as you can see, we have rendered some items, but that create page has not been rendered. It will only be rendered when when the link is visible, that is one thing. When the link is visible, and the compiler is idle. So if I scroll up a little bit, and the create link is visible, you should be able to see something. Yeah. So the link is visible now. As you've seen, we have loaded create.js. Now this entire code for create.js, basically it's a create page. So this is something which is very nice, which is being offered out of the box by Next.js. You will get your pages loaded when the links are active and when the browser is idle. Nothing is happening for this case. So that is one. Then we have SEOs for Next.js. We have the head. It's called the head component, where you can pass on your you can pass your configurations. This is the way you can pass on your SEO stuff. I think we have a little one here for my view. I think this is a better one. So I think this code head, it's basically for SEO. For React guys, they use React Helmets. I think we have other tools, but this is it. If I go to the event page, if to a specific event page, as you can see, the title in the browser is changing. And if I inspect this code here, if I not just inspect, if I view the source, I should be able to see lots of HTML stuff. Of course, we are loading the meta info here. The title is here, and then we have all the meta info. If I try to share this page on Facebook, let's see. I've already deployed this application somewhere. So let me open the deployed one and try to share my specific page, my specific event page on Facebook. Don't worry about my Facebook. My Facebook is not active. I don't post a lot on Facebook. As you can see, this is Heroku. Heroku is putting up. My application has been idle for some time, but then I can still use it. Let me open. So this is a page. If I copy this and paste it on, let's say, an input here, for instance, what is on my mind, I paste it here. Still loading. Oh, okay. If I paste it here, you can see it's fetching meta info. So this is essentially things I've added here on my in the code, the description, and then the content. What do you know about it? What do you want to know about events? It's already there. But for an SPA, if I go to mooc.com and then select a specific event, mooc.com is a nice website, it's an SPA, and select for this, and then I copy this and I paste it on Facebook. Where is Facebook? And I remove this link here. I cancel my post. Okay, I remove that and I remove this and I paste the one for MOOC. Notice what is being fetched. It is the markup on the index.html page. So if I can inspect this code here, I inspect it here, and then I go to the head section. As you can see, we have the markup here. The markup is already here. The title is MOOC and the name of the album, but it is not appearing on Facebook. What is appearing is it's this. Let me show you what's appearing. If I view the source, what's appearing for SEO is this one. Is this content here? Is this initial markup from the index.html page, which has been shared, which has been added by the guys working on MOOC right now. So that shows you the power of a server-side rendered application. That is one. So you will always see the same meta info for an SPA, but the info will be changing. If I remove this here and choose a different event, for my next application, let's say the Kitty cluster, and I copy the URL, this information will always be specific. As you can see, it's called Kitty cluster. That's the power of SPAs, and it's nice to use an SPA. That's the power of SSR, and it's nice to use an SSR application if you are intensive on SEO and want to give your users and want to make your application visible on the web. What else do we need to show you? So that is Next.js. You can go and check out what Next.js offers. They have quite some concepts here. Let me see the features here. They have a SEO. They have page tag SEO, and you can see they are using the this head. I think the head method provided of the hook by Next, and then they have the loading. They have the loading indicator which is already in the Next config. So you can even change. You can even change the loading. The loader. So if I want this to be yellow, I can basically say yellow. When you change this, I think you need to restart your application. When you change, oh, it's already doing that for you. Then if I go to my application here, and then go home, it's still loading. It's still building. Let's wait for it to finish. So the stuff has been loaded. So if you see this, let me show you where you see it. If I click on an event here, as you can see, let me make maintenance slower for some time, so you can see the loading. The loading indicator is changed to yellow. So I can switch this to slow 3G and then reload this. So it will take a lot of time. Still loading. Let me go home. And then I select a specific event. It's doing this very fast. You cannot see it. It's just supposed to be brighter. Let me give it a brighter color like red. But you see, it's already given to you for free by Next.js. It has got all the batteries for you to do the stuff you want to do. Let's check out Next.js. I have a Next.js application here. So let me close this and open a Next.js application for you to see what's happening for Next.js. Yeah. So this is opening slowly. Next.js 101. And also the code for Next.js project is also available on my GitHub. So it's a simple application to do with posts, and basically still the same scenario. We have a server directory and a static one. I told you static rendering is the most recommended way to do your SSR applications. And it's really nice because you build everything. And then you can see it on the client. So these are simple application, still using SSR. I wanted to highlight something. For SSR, even in Next.js, if you want to do a dynamic route, for instance, page/id, you prefix it with the name of the file with an ID. For instance, if I had a new page here, let's say the page is about me, and then I want to have a route which goes to /me/Abel or /1. I just right click, add a new file, but then this will be the name of the file .js. So it will accept params. You'll be able to get the params. I think for Next.js is all more or less the same thing. But for Next.js, if you want this directory to accept all routes, the name of this could be done like that with 3 dots. It will serve /create/post put /anything you want /me/anything. It will handle all your requests. That's a nice thing about Next.js. What does Next.js offer out of the box? Next.js is for those who don't know, Next.js is the React framework for server-side rendering, and it's really nice. It's been done by Vassal, which is a great company. And if I go to start learning, let me go to the docs. Let me check out the docs. They have so many nice items here. They have offering. Let's see the API. They have Next.link. Next.link is a preferred way to route your applications. The good thing with Next.link is the same as Next.link. So in your application, you use the Next.link so that your pages don't always fetch for the JavaScript from your server every time you hit it, even if it's for a second time revisit. But if you are redirecting to an external page, And this is how you do the links here for information. You just have the link, the href here, and you have an anchor tag here with the name. That's all you need. And the styles are applied in the anchor tag, not in the link component, in the anchor tag here for Next.js. And if you are redirected to an external page, which is not in your in your application, you are allowed to use just this. Not you are just allowed to use the normal anchor tag and redirect to and target to a blank page. You can do that. But if you are directing to your application, use the next link. It will save a lot of server resources because your links will be always redundant. They have the next router. They're using hooks, React hooks. They are pretty nice. I love hooks. They are nice. You can check out what next router does. Basically, it's still taking care of your history API and stuff. That being said, I wanted to mention something on Angular. I'm not a good Angular developer. Based on Stack Overflow's last year survey, Angular is the most dreaded JavaScript framework. So I don't know why people love Angular, but we have something called Angular Universal. Angular Universal is the SSR for Angular. So if you want to learn how to do SSR, initially, Angular applications, they are all SPS until you go to Angular Universal. So you can check out this page here, Angular Universal. Check out what people do for that case. And then let me check another thing here. So let me check out and let me show you another way how you can do SPA, how you can do SEO for SPS, like Mook has done them. So there's a library called React Helmet. React Helmet gives you SEOs, but they will only be indexed by Google. So Open Graph, as you have seen in Facebook uses Open Graph for web crawling. Actually, I think Open Graph is their tool. So they will not see your stuff. As you can see, React Helmet has got 1 million downloads weekly. So you need to download this thing and check it out. So you just import React Helmet, and in your applications, React Helmet is a component. You need it, and it's not the default export from the package. So you need to extrapolate it from the components. Then you need to pass on your meta info. This meta info is only available in Google for Google indexing and not any other place. So if you want to do your SEO for your SPA, check out React Helmet. And I was telling you, most SPAs they only rely on one specific index.html. So as I told you, I'm working for X2AI, and our application is an SPA. But I wanted to show you what an SPA means for React. It's the same case for Next.js, for Vue.js. So you have your code here, your JavaScript stuff, nicely done. Everything looking neat for you, JavaScript. But then there are .js applications. But then in your public directory, we have the index.html. So let me show you what happens when you build your application. When I do Yarn build, I use Yarn. You should use Yarn. Yarn is good. Yarn has got nice linking for your packages, and Yarn is fast. People use npm. We love you, and npm is slow, so you need to stop using npm. But I've seen somebody working on a great solution for npm. So as I'm building, what Yarn build does, it builds your application into static files, your JavaScript, your images, your HTML page. It will do this. It will bundle your JavaScript into specific bundles and chunks, and then they will be linked using an entry file to your index.html. So when you request for /user, it will hit index.html, but because index.html has links to your React code and your component code in an entry file, routing will happen from that point. So if I go to the build directory here, you see we have static assets. Static assets, they are here. We have your CSS and we have your JavaScript. JavaScript is basically your JavaScript code, your components, this stuff here, your app.js, your components, nav, bar.js, and all that stuff. And then you have your index.html. index.html is what people see. So I don't know how to format this view. I need to do, how do you format this toggle? Let me see how to format this. Wow. Okay, yeah, it's formatted now. That's thanks to Prettier. So as you can see, it's your HTML file. And for your SEO, it is just the same thing. It will always have this thing here. So that is what Google and the web crawlers will see. And then you have the link to your CSS, which is a static asset. And then you have a link to your JavaScript chunks. So this is what enables you to use React on the client side. So when you hit on /user happening on the client side, these are your chunks, and your chunks are here in the JS folder. So you can always open them. You can always open them and get surprised. Yeah, basically you cannot see anything. But this is your React code and your router, your routing and all the stuff. It's minified code, so it's good. Gzipped, it's nice. It's little for the browser. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. But then we have another item which I've not tackled, which is static websites. Static websites, they are just what that is. They are static, they are fixed, they are constant. Index.html. As long as you have saved that file will remain the same in the server, the same way you have saved it. And they are really nice for display if you want to just give information about yourself, your info. So it's nice to do your portfolio using static sites. They don't change. They are HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript if need be, but they are not dynamic. They don't change. As long as you have saved it, the content of that page is Abel, software developer, and anchor tag, and heading. That's all it will be. It will not change. So if you want to do static websites, that is HTML for you and CSS for you. So I welcome any questions at this point. You can ask me questions to do with React and Next.js because I've done those. Angular, I'm so sure, but then the guide for Angular is just here. Check out Angular Universal, how to do this stuff. But then we have something else which I've not mentioned. For people who are interested in knowing how React, how Next.js, how Next.js does render your view code in the server, React has got something called React DOM server, which essentially helps you to render your components into static markup. That is your HTML and stuff. So React DOM server is what has empowered Next.js and pre-React together with something called Hydrate, React.hydrate. You can check all those items in the React documentation. We have React DOM server and React Hydrate. And we have common methods to do your server-side rendering. We have render to string, which is also available in Vue. For Vue.js, how people do server-side rendering is through an export from the Vue server render called the Create Bundle Renderer. The Create Bundle Renderer gives you a chance to render your components into static markup. So if you're interested in going that way, let me share the docs for you. If you want to check out how things work under the hood, which is always nice, which is not nice, it's just check that out. For Vue.js developers, I'm an aspiring Vue.js developer. I love checking out the docs. That is how things happen for the server. React DOM server and bundle renderer for Vue.js. So at this point I want to stop the presentation and then take in questions if they are there. Where is the moderator? Emmanuel Magak.
Yes.
Yeah. So we can take questions,
Yeah, I can take questions.
or if you have a question yourself, you can ask.
Na mimi niko na swali kweli. Oh, by the way,
Yes.
talking about generating static sites.
Yeah.
You can use Next also to generate static.
Yeah. Next, yeah, you can use Next.js to do also a static site. I think it's in the config, Next config. They are there. I've seen them. I've not used them, but I've seen them.
The only weakness is that if you have dynamic routes, you have to manually define
Yeah.
them.
And it's also the case for Next.js. So if you have dynamic routes and you are doing that, then you also need to explicitly define your routes. It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, just a follow up from what
Yes.
Magak has said. You know, I thought when you do SSR, the pages are static. Kwani, is there a difference? Static and
Not
SSR.
yeah, there's a difference. For Vue and React, most of the time you are doing fetching of data from the server, and you're using Vue to interact with the DOM. So it is not fixed. What it is right now could not be the same for a different user. So the markup is static, but the content is changing. So what is happening is that your components are being rendered on the server first before you can see them. That means for instance, for a static pre-render, you generate all of them initially and then render them on the server and then use Vue.js to bring reactivity to your website. And as you know, Vue is changing your Vue and React are changing the DOM elements most of the time and React. But for static, it's just HTML and CSS. What it is just that. It's not going to change, and it's as long as you have saved, you have saved. But with Vue and React, you have added another element of JS, which is now bringing the interactivity to your website. So your website is interactive. It's not really static as such, but the markup is static. But then the interactivity is there. It's not fixed. It's changing. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you.
Anytime.
And I saw the way you're navigating the Next.js project.
Yeah.
It had some view in it, and in that there was that page where you had defined your routes. So
Yes.
just to confirm, there was that meta property. So you
Yes.
define that meta property for every route, every single route.
Oh yeah, I did not mention that. You specify meta information for every page, not your component and not anything else. As long as it's a visible page, that's the only point you need to define your meta information. And it's for every page. Let me show you something with my meta configuration. It's something cool which I wanted to show you. And it is this. If I go to the next application, let me open next. Mm-hmm. If I go to my next application and check out my meta configuration, we have this HID. This HID makes sure that this page has got unique meta information. If you don't add this, I think if you don't add this and you have another meta configuration just with the same so it's a description. If you add another description, it will be overridden. So it's good to uniquely identify your meta info using this item provided by Vue. But then you only need to provide your configurations for the pages. Even in Next.js, you cannot do your meta information in a component. It will not work. It's not advisable because the view is what is being rendered in the server initially, and then the components are in so many ways. They are preloaded, they are less loaded, they are not always there in the UI. So you need to check on that. You need to do this on the view or the page.
Just to add on that,
Yeah.
just in case you may be having some meta tags which are not so dynamic, you can always define them on the next.config.js.
Yeah.
But you have to give them an ID like Abel said. In that case,
Yeah.
when you have the same in a different views, they'll get updated.
Yeah. So for instance, let me show you. I think I can show you this if we have time, Magak. Yeah. So for the Next.js, we have the layout. The layout is always loaded for all the application. As you can see, the layout, the markup is almost the same as the one we have in the index page, not the index page, in this default page. You see, it's almost the same, but because we have this HID, which is basically, I think it's head ID, the markup is changed. Initially, the markup is here. You can find all the events taking place in the neighborhood, but it is being changed here to the content. What you need to know about this event, and the event name is dynamic. So this is the power of this thing. You need to add this thing. If I did not add this thing, this meta information will be the same as the one I have in my layout, the default layout. It will not change any bit. And the good thing with this is that because I have some meta info on my default layout, most of my application will have if I don't add any meta info, they will have the default meta info in my layout component. So it's just nice to have them on the default, just the default markup for your meta info on the default layout page, and then you can change them for the specific pages, if that makes sense. Back to you, Magak.
Are there any more questions?
I actually have a last question.
Ask.
Okay, I'm not sure if you have done Node.
I have.
So, okay, so if I do a project with Node and a templating engine like EJS, will
Yes.
that be an SSR application?
Not just it's server-side rendered, so it will still be rendered on the server. So yeah, it's SSR. By default, it's like doing PHP now. It's like doing Node to do your templating engine. It's the same as what you'll be doing in PHP. It's server-side rendered by default, as long as it's working on the node side.
Okay, thank you, Abel Masila.
Anytime, Derek. All right, Magak, I beg to stop at that, so you can take it and then complete.
So thank you, Abel, for the awesome session. I know in the few weeks or months coming, tutakuwa na session nyingine tu. It's always awesome sharing and the community learning from you as you also learn. It's a good thing. So thanks, guys. I think next week on Thursday, this video will be up on YouTube, and a week after this, we will be having, as we always alternate, we'll be having a session on Android, that is on third, and it will be about testing. Yeah, in Android. So yeah, I think these are just stop the recording. So thank you guys for those who attended.
All right. Bye. I want to go and check on something, so we'll continue talking.
It's okay. Bye.